You can't do this. This is against the rules. I'm gay. So Carson, I know you didn't see the news until I told you before the call, so I don't even need to ask you if you've heard the news like I typically do.
I'm just
But
now reading this. Like I just pulled it up and I'm reading it.
yeah, the reason why I wanted this to be our cold open for today is because we talked about this as our cold open at this point, like nearly a month ago, I think.
I
No,
think like
it was
two.
last year. It was
Yeah,
last
yeah.
year.
It was more like 2 or 3
Um,
months.
where Netflix was buying Warner Brothers because Warner Brothers was going up for sale and Netflix gave the biggest deal. And at the time, and even for a little while after that, everything seemed really set in stone. It seemed like, yeah, unfortunately for everyone, Netflix is buying Warner Brothers. Now, that's not the case. Netflix has been outbid. They decided to not counterbid Paramount's better offer. And now Paramount is buying Warner Brothers, which I don't think is better. I don't. I think the only difference is now it's a little less of a concern of things immediately going to streaming, but Paramount Plus is a thing. Like Paramount also still has their own streaming service.
Yeah,
So
but
like I don't think this is all that much of a net positive.
most of their things, unless it's something like that's made for the service, like it's a Paramount like Plus original, which they have those. The Paramount's still a film, like they have their own film studio. Like they're still a staple of Hollywood. Them taking over Warner Brothers isn't the worst thing I've ever heard. I would still prefer it to be like any other guy. Honestly, I would still prefer it to be Disney. Genuinely.
No, no, absolutely not.
That was the reaction I was hoping for.
I absolutely no, 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 no,
No,
no.
there's not really a better option necessarily, unless Warner Bros. Just wants to fund themselves and like stay in business, which isn't possible because they're clearly selling for a reason.
Yeah, that's the only good option is Warner Brothers goes, what the hell were we thinking? Let's not sell.
That's the only good option. The secondary option, honestly, is Paramount. Like they're not as bad as you think they are. Like yeah,
I mean,
they
they're
do
not as
release a
bad as
lot.
Netflix.
Well, Netflix is solely streaming. Like Netflix will release
Yeah.
big films if it's like a big director, but that's it. And even then, like it's 2 days. Frankenstein was in theaters for 2 days.
They literally only release in theaters so they can get the Oscar nominations. They purposefully meet the bare minimum criteria to get the Oscar nominations, which they did with Frankenstein.
Yeah. Which is
And then the
relatively
newest
stupid.
Knives Out movie was also, it just didn't get nominated for anything.
I also didn't know, like, I forgot that really released in theaters. I there was no theater near me doing that movie.
Because there was no advertising, there was no showings near me. They released it in like the bare minimum number of theaters for the bare minimum amount of time.
Yeah. So I think ultimately Paramount's not the worst decision. It's not great, but it's better than Netflix. It's certainly better than honestly. I still feel like Netflix is better than Disney. In all honesty, Disney would have ran everything to the ground with reboots and this and that and all of it.
I mean, your list of who would have. The thing is, though, I was never worried about Disney buying Warner Brothers because definitively that deal would not have gone through. Like, I have no fear in me that that deal would have never even been like allowed to be entertained. Probably Paramount is a big company. Yes, they're no Disney. Like they're not.
Yeah. I'm surprised Universal. I never read anything about it, so I might be wrong, but I'm surprised I didn't hear anything about Universal throwing their hat in the ring, just because like a lot of their properties are kind of tied into Warner Brothers, like especially like the Horror Nights and like
I
houses.
thought Warner Brothers owned Universal. I didn't know is Universal its own company?
I'm pretty sure Universal Studios is its own company. Hold on, fact check.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna fact check you.
Is Universal production company?
It's Comcast. Comcast owns.
That's what I thought. I thought it was Comcast because it's so different. I think Comcast. They're connected in some way, but it's not like I know.
Well,
for
clearly,
a fact,
given their properties that are in Universal,
they're connected in some way. But like the only reason I know they weren't like really that affiliated with each other was because of Horror Nights. There's a lot of properties they can't use because it's owned by Warner Brothers. So I knew that they were competing in some regard. Maybe they just weren't big enough, but like Okay, so it would be Comcast, not Universal. I'm surprised Comcast didn't try to bid. Maybe they did. Maybe I didn't see it. Because that would have been a huge steal for them. Just through and through would be to get Warner Brothers. I mean,
Yeah.
there are endless possibilities at Universal, which is still, mind you, doesn't have a streaming service. Comcast doesn't have a streaming service. They still try to release. Actually, I take it back. That would have been the best option because they don't really have many streaming things, or at least they don't really release that many things to streaming unless it's like actually going to do bad. Like they still actively try to release films in theaters. That would have been
Yeah.
the best option for them.
It is definitely interesting. It has to be a money thing. It has to be a, like, they don't have the capital to put up for it. But also, like, Comcast I have Xfinity Internet. Comcast owns my internet. Like, Comcast is more than just, like, "Oh, they own
Yeah,
Universal." Like, Comcast is a huge
that
company.
well, it also like, and this is just a business side of it, and we're talking about the merits of business here. So I couldn't even begin to tell you because I'm not a business major,
Yeah.
but there also probably comes a time when it's like, do we even need it? You know, if you want all of these things, what's the point of
I
spending
mean,
all this money to get this if it's
it's
not really going
better
to do anything
than
for us?
well, I think the idea, though, is if Comcast owns Universal and now someone else owns, like, if Comcast owns Universal and Warner Brothers has the largest stay in terms of properties, like, they don't have the only stay because, like, the Mario Land is in, Universal, and that's owned
Yeah,
by Nintendo, it's not owned by, Warner Brothers, but if Warner Brothers has things like Harry Potter Land and a few other things that are big mainstays in Universal,
sure,
and that gets bought up by a different company, that changes a lot of those agreements and could cause headaches for Comcast. But
sure.
their logic is, well, I guess no, because the biggest and most popular thing in Universal is owned by Warner Brothers. It's Harry Potter Land. So I don't know.
I don't know. It
If
just depends. Again, I know partnerships have been struck before. Things can be struck again. I don't know. And again, I'm solely thinking about it from the theme park perspective right now, just because like
yeah.
that's like the easiest way for me to kind of keep track of it is like, okay, who owns what, who owns this. Since I'm sometimes it is just like the ride rights. Disney was originally supposed to have Harry Potter Land. I don't know if you heard about that story. They
No, I
originally
didn't.
they had Harry Potter. All they had to do was listen to J.K. Rowling and build it according to like what she wanted. Like she just wanted to be involved in the process, and Disney was outright like, no, we're gonna do this how we want. We want this. And J.K. Rowling took her property and walked away and went to Universal, and Universal built it.
I don't think it would have made any sense for Harry Potter Land to be in Disney, honestly. So, like,
It,
I don't.
it would have gone to Fantasyland. That's all I know. That's all I've heard.
Yeah, but, like, are there any properties in, Disney that are owned by anything other than Disney, like Disney Pixar or anything like that? Like, no.
I'm trying to think. I mean, technically, if you count Star Wars, but I don't.
Well, Star
Um,
Wars is owned by Disney, so
the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular, which at the time when they built it wasn't owned by Disney. It is now, but it wasn't. Technically counts, but that's also like when Hollywood Studios was Hollywood Studios. And it was like a completely different type of park. I'm trying to think. Genuinely, is there anything that isn't owned by Disney? Owns everything, so it's
yeah,
kind of like
exactly. So,
it's
well,
kind
I
of
guess
like
in the world in which Disney allowed J.K. Rowling to build her theme park, Disney probably just would have ended up buying,
yeah.
like, Harry Potter, and we would have lived in that world where instead of HBO making a remake of live action Harry Potter, you get Disney making animated TV shows and 17 movies and spin-offs and
So let's talk about that because the thing that worries me the most, and I don't know if you can fact check me on this one too. I'm pretty sure Warner Brothers does own HBO.
I don't know if they own. I'm gonna fact check that. Continue on your point, but I'm gonna fact check it.
I think Warner Brothers owns HBO. If they do, that scares me because HBO is the most successful televising program. Like just being
Yes, it's a
completely honest,
subsidiary.
that's what I thought. Um, they're the most successful. I'm not saying that they make shows that everybody agrees to watch, but most of the time they're slam dunk shows to pretty good shows. It's a rarity that they're bad to mid, although they do have them every now and again. They HBO does a pretty good job at putting out shows that are actually good and have good content and whatnot. I'm worried that there's going to be a Sopranos reboot, or that there's going to be a Game of Thrones continuation, or that there's going to be this or that because Paramount buys out Warner Brothers. Is like, hey, we got all of these properties. Let's get them back up. Let's try it again.
Maybe I'm speaking out of turn here. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn here. I don't view Paramount as the type of company to do that, especially not off rip. Again, if we're talking Disney, absolutely. But if we're
Oh,
talking Paramount, like I don't really see that being their first thing that they do.
I don't see it being the first thing. I see this like 5 years down the line, we're going to get some sort of reboot that's honestly disrespectful. We are so here's the thing: is like there are reports and rumors. I never fully found out if it was confirmed or not. I heard a rumor that they were going to reboot Game of Thrones already, but it was going to be movie format and it was going to not be like seasons. It was just going to be kind of like Harry Potter. It was going to be movie by movie, book by book. And they were going to just redo it. I also heard continuations of more shows and more spinoffs outside of Nine Seven Kingdoms and House of the Dragon, which
I mean,
that's still possible. I think that's to be expected.
yeah, but Game of Thrones is like one of the biggest, or was until the final season, like the biggest, most popular TV show almost in history. Like, yeah, you have
Well,
your
and
Breaking Bads and Sopranos and stuff, but like Game of Thrones took over the world at the
Game of Thrones
time of
is
release.
I love a lot of properties that we've talked about on this channel. Game of Thrones is the most iconic one TV show in the history of television. I don't think that's a debatable fact. I think that just simply is a fact.
No,
I
I think it is debatable. I think if you're talking iconic, I think it's debatable. I think in terms of viewers at the time of release, I do think it probably is the biggest. But like Breaking Bad still has the only 10 out of 10 episode on. Like it's a whole like I
oh
think
no,
Breaking Bad still.
Breaking Bad's still the best. I'm saying just on pure iconic. Like people like Breaking Bad. That being said, I feel like I know a lot more people who have watched Game of Thrones and liked Game of Thrones more than they've been able to get through Breaking Bad. There are
I mean, I
which there are,
guess.
there are people who have said the words to me. I tried to get through Breaking Bad, and it pisses me off to my core because Breaking Bad is the most perfect thing to ever exist. Please do not flame me, internet.
Yeah,
Um,
couldn't be. I've definitely watched all of Breaking Bad. I didn't drop it after the second episode or anything.
you tried, and that's all that matters. And you're gonna try again whenever the time is right. Uh, that's not a threat.
Sure.
But the idea that I don't know, I've always been on the side that I think Thrones is the most iconic television series, just because
Mhm.
it has quite literally everything that a television show and just something of a scope and scale that the show offers, especially from the political thriller aspect. That it just makes sense. Iconic moments, dramatic comedy, etc., action, just incredible visuals. I mean, it's all written. It's written expertly, except for that final season, which we don't talk about. But we will I will kind of reference it a little bit today, actually, which is very, very funny. I never thought I'd be saying that on the podcast that we're talking about a Game of Thrones property again, but here we are. Uh, um, but yeah, it just scares me that if they own HBO, they're just going to reboot a bunch of things that, like, again, maybe not right away, like you said, but within due time, they'll start bringing back franchises that just don't need to be brought back. Like, let them end, let them die. And HBO is just riddled with so many properties that it worries me a little bit. But
My thing is, if Netflix were to have bought Warner Brothers, HBO's going away. Like it's getting dissolved. It's all getting put into Netflix. It would make no sense for Netflix to have
yeah,
streaming services. At least with Paramount buying Warner Brothers, I could see them merging Paramount Plus into HBO. Like I could see that being the option, or it could be a similar situation to where how Disney owns Hulu. Both streaming services exist. You can get them as bundles. You can link your accounts, something like that.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, I feel like HBO Max will still exist after after this deal goes through because HBO itself, like you said, Warner Brothers owns it, but technically HBO is still its own entity. I feel like Paramount's still gonna do that. Not saying they won't revitalize shows or have major say in like what gets rebooted, like I've already said, but I do feel like they're not going to fully like touch it on as far as streaming goes. Like they're not going to pull things. They might pull some shows to their streaming platform, but it'll also be on HBO Max as well, along with whatever properties that Warner Brothers owns, just to make it easy. You have Paramount, you have maybe some properties here and there. You'll have some Paramount properties on HBO Max, which I think even still like streaming services still get movies that belong to other companies and put them on unless they're like directly affiliated, like a Netflix original or Paramount original. You can still get films from the certain catalogs to be put onto different streaming services. So I mean, as a streaming service, I think HBO Max is fine. I just think the brand itself is going to be fundamentally changing in the next 5 years when this deal goes
Oh,
through.
yeah, absolutely. If the deal goes through, there's gonna be a lot of fundamental changes that we probably can't even predict.
I'm not even. I'm sure I'm not even thinking about all the properties. I'm just thinking about the ones that to me mean the most. Again, all of HBO's library means a lot to me. So touching that is probably going to be very, very rough. Uh,
Yeah. Talking about something that is a different property, that means nothing to me. In fact, I don't have much to say on it, but you wanted to talk about it, so we'll see what we have to say.
I look.
The Before the Scream 7, which is one of the topics that we're talking about today, movie released, they had the Scary Movie 6 trailer. Talk to me. I'm gonna put it out. We are gonna review Scary Movie 6. I have not seen any of the Scary Movies. I will be watching the other Scary Movies like I did with Scream, but
They're
I don't have a lot to say on the trailer other than it looks exactly like what I expect a scary movie to look like in all the best and worst ways.
scary. So Scary Movie is a parody. I know you already know this, but obviously it's a parody of Scream, which is already a parody in and of itself of classic slasher horror films. So it's
Yes.
absurd. It's funny. They're not slam dunk comedies. I've seen better comedies written so many times, but they're just a lot of fun. And so when this trailer happened, which I already heard the rumor that they were going to show the trailer during Scream, I completely forgot about it. So when I saw Ghostface walk out, I go, wait, why are we seeing a trailer? We're about to watch it. Oh, Scary Movie. My first thought when Marlon Wayans came on screen was, my God, he's old. What did they do? What did Marlon Wayans do? What are they doing? Look, the trailer's fine. There's nothing to write home about, and this will inevitably, unless we have something more to talk about, this will be the shortest episode of the podcast when we review Scary Movie because they're just fun movies, but there's nothing like it's no different than like Naked Gun. Like, what heart are we supposed to be paying attention for in this film? It's just
Yeah.
have a good time, laugh at what's happening. It's the absurdity of the circumstance that you're in.
I think that's my fear with the Scary Movie franchise is like I think I'll probably have some fun when I go through and watch them. I'll wait until watch them closer to probably like I did with Scream.
Yeah.
But I think my thing with Scary Movie is like it doesn't even look like they're trying to be the funniest thing ever, and I at least want a comedy to try and be very funny like a Naked Gun. Scary Movie looks like they know they're a wacky, ridiculous, not the funniest thing in the world movie, and I don't know, I don't like that out of a comedy. Like, I want them
There
to at least try to
yeah.
be funny, and Scary Movie looks like a, "We don't have to try, we're just gonna be stupid to be stupid," and it's like, why?
Yeah,
At least put some effort into it.
they're and again, they're not perfect, but like and Scary Movie isn't even my favorite of like the movies. Like, do you remember the superhero movie? Did you ever hear about that? It's Drake Bell is the lead character. It's literally the plot of Spider-Man, but it's like to a ridiculous level, like Scary Movie, except it's a superhero
Okay, I
movie.
have not heard of that.
Watch clips from it. It's actually pretty entertaining. It's not like again not a slam dunk comedy. It's ridiculous comedy, but it's got like they have so many iconic shots. So like when Peter is in his room with Norman and they're all like, well, where's Peter? We thought we heard something upstairs and he's on the ceiling and then the blood falls and whatnot. The bit in the movie is that he really had to go to the bathroom and he starts going to the bathroom when he hears people coming in. So he's on the ceiling and it's not blood coming from his costume. It's him taking an actual piss on his floor. And Norman's just like every 2 seconds, what's that? What's going? What is that? What's going on? It's bits like that. So it's really stupid humor, but it's entertaining humor. Like when another bit when Norman's throwing the little bombs at Peter when in the burning building, you know what scene I'm talking about, and he like dodges
Mhm.
all of them before it comes back. In the superhero movie, he throws them and it looks like he's gonna dodge them, and then they just all connect with his body and they all hit him. It's really funny. It's stupid, but it's really funny. Kevin Hart's in it. I don't know. Scary Movie though, talking more about that specifically, is the same exact type of humor where it's just dumb. Ghostface is chasing after the final girl going up the stairs and all of a sudden the final girl just pushes a piano down the stairs and throws everything at Ghostface, and he's running like back down the stairs. It's really stupid humor. This movie also looks like it's stupid humor, so I think it's going to be more nostalgic, and it's just going to be more fun because it's like, oh, do you remember Scary Movie from like the 2000s? Well, here you go. We're
Yeah,
doing it's like the Jackass franchise, except not, in my opinion, not as funny or creative, because Jackass can never really get old. It's a bunch of people just trying to hurt themselves and do funny pranks in public. It's a bit more crass, I guess, but it's a bit more clever, in my opinion, at least.
I mean, I'll watch them, and I'm excited to watch them. It's not like I'm going in all like Debbie Downer, like, oh, I don't want to
No,
enjoy these, I don't want to have fun. But it's like it really
they're
does just look like a let's just throw some stupid humor at the wall
they're
and see what
they're
sticks.
not, yeah, they're not peak. They're not, it's not the greatest thing to write home, but they are a good time. You'll enjoy yourself when watching them. But like for me, I've seen the movies once. That's it.
Yeah.
I've never wanted to revisit it because I never cared to revisit it again. The only thing that I was excited about was the trailer, because it's cool to see the cast get back together again. And with a movie like Scary Movie, even if the movie's bad, you're still gonna have a fun time with it. Like, I think that when it comes to most comedies, I'm not as worried about a sequel because you can
Hmm.
still have a good time with them. And I think Scary Movie knows exactly what it's trying to be and what it's going to be. So it's just like, I don't care how many sequels of that you can make, especially if it's like 20 years after the last one. It'll be a fun time. You'll have a fun time with it, whatever.
Yeah, luckily I just checked. It's the same day as we review Disclosure Day. So we don't have to worry about a super short episode that week because we'll have Disclosure Day and Spider-Man Noir. So it'll be a packed
That's
episode.
actually that's actually going to be a fun episode. We get a comedy, hopefully pretty good TV series, and and hopefully a really good
And
movie. But
yeah. But we're not talking about those today. We're talking about other maybe good, maybe bad movies. Because what's up, Nimrods? It's your boys back with another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, the only podcast on the internet where your two favorite Nimrods talk all things nerdy. I'm your host for today's episode, Brandon, aka Pearfish, here with my forever co-host.
Carson, aka Juggernaut.
And today we have technically three, technically two things to review today. We're going to start out with our final episode review of Night of the Seven Kingdoms. It isn't called Night of the Seven Kingdoms anymore, but I'm still going to call it Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And then we'll kick it off into, it'll be oddly formatted, but not that weird. Carson is going to give his review of the first 6 Scream movies very briefly. I'm going to give my review of my first time watching all 6 Scream movies. I'll go a little bit more in depth than Carson probably will. And then we're immediately going to jump into our Scream 7 reviews, and then we'll jump into a back and forth on the Scream franchise as a whole. So that's kind of the outline for today's episode. As always, I will go ahead and give a big spoiler warning. If you have not seen Night of the Seven Kingdoms, or if you have not seen any of the Scream movies, throughout the entire course of the episode, pretty much other than the beginning where we're only talking about the first 6, we'll be talking about spoilers for basically the entire Scream franchise. So if you haven't seen any of the Scream movies, maybe not the time for you to watch, but that is our spoiler review out of the way, our spoiler warning. Before we jump into this, Carson, how are you doing?
Tired. It's been a long week. Got a flat tire. I got to get my car looked at this weekend. That's where I'm going to go
Damn.
after this. I bought Arc Raiders, so that's been fun because that's been all the rave recently in video game community. So I've been playing that. I've run into a
You're
bunch
only
of.
like 6 months late.
I'm only like 6 months late, but I finally bought it, and it's a lot of fun. And let me tell you, I have run into some real jerks in that game.
Oh, yeah.
There, it is sweaty with people who just want to come up and kill you, but it's a lot of fun. I can recommend. It's pretty much about it.
Fair enough. Yeah,
Otherwise, typical week. So
I'm also pretty tired, mainly because I had a friend's birthday party last night and we were out bowling. And I will say, for 2 frames, for 2 rounds, I had the highest score out of anyone. Were they actually that high of scores? No, my highest score of the night was 127. So not great, but I still beat everyone 2 out of 3 times. So I'll take it. Last round, I literally gave up. I stopped trying because I was tired and it was late and I stopped caring. But
I
I
stopped
did
caring.
decent enough at bowling, and then I got back super late and then woke up and here we are. So it's been okay. It's been an okay week.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and kick it into our Night of the Seven Kingdoms review. Again, reminder, spoiler warnings. We'll kick it off to, and this is only the final episode. Obviously, we'll talk about the other episodes as they relate to this episode, but we're only specifically talking about the final episode here. Carson, you want to go ahead and kick us off?
Yeah, I mean, look, everything we said in the last week's episode stands here, pretty strongly. Writing's really good, the acting's really good, the tension, the comedy drama, all of it. This doesn't feel like Game of Thrones set in the Game of Thrones universe, and I kind of like that to a certain degree. I'm rewatching Game of Thrones at the same time watching this because I watched the last few episodes. I just wanted to watch the original show again. Very different feel. Obviously, one set in not in a more lighthearted, especially this episode deals a lot with like the idea of like whose fault was it that Baelor is dead? Like whose fault what it truly is it? Like the guilt and the grief of that. It dealt a lot with that, but like it's not the we're all fighting for one purpose. We're fighting for the throne. We're families at each other's throats. It's not that. It's a little more lighthearted. It's a bit more. It's easier to bear, at the very least. And this episode, as Larry said, it's dealing with grief and how we process it. Well, at the same time, Duncan is toying with the idea that was given to him by I don't know how to say his name, Malor,
Malor, I think. Malor,
Mal-
Malor.
Malor. I don't know. I hate Game of Thrones names sometimes, man, because I can never pronounce them. Egg's father. Let's go with that. To be the squire for Egg, and
Vice versa.
vice versa. I don't know. It seems like Game of Thrones does have the same thing where it's like, okay, the penultimate episode really is the finale for the season. The final episode's the setup for the next. You do get resolution in this episode, and it's a little bit but like this is more of a stepping stone to like, okay, where are we going to go next? Where's this journey going to take us? And I do like where the series kind of ends. Like if this show just ended where it was, I think I would be perfectly fine with that. I like the idea that Duncan, this whole time after being like done with princes, dealing with Egg, seeing their relationship build, he kind of pushes him away in this episode, and at the end he's just like, "Hey, let's just all I'll train you. Just come with me." And the final shot of the show actually was really, really good. I like the idea that it's Duncan, Egg, and Pennytree all riding in one direction, and then all of a sudden Pennytree breaks off and goes completely to the left. I actually really like that shot and the symbolism. I really appreciated that moment. It was very heartfelt and showing how like, okay, now Duncan is the knight training Egg, or at least we think is a knight. We'll get into that more because I'm very confused and I don't know what the flashback means beyond them trying to potentially cast doubt. But we'll get into that. But overall, I mean, again, same compliments as last time. Again, not really that many negatives. Again, it's just a setup for season 2 at the same time wrapping up what they can here. So yeah, good episode.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really disagree. It was a good final episode. It gave us conclusions to everything that happened this season, while obviously setting up where we're going next season. I will say one thing that I was thinking when I watched this episode, at least as it came to an end, the ending of this season does make me more worried about the prospect of them having 5, 10, 15 more seasons. The reason why I say that is because the setup at the end of this episode with Egg going off to be Duncan Squire, obviously we expected that. And then we had the whole thing where Egg's dad obviously did not know about Egg running away with Duncan, setting up a major conflict of next season to be Egg's dad chasing after Duncan to figure out what's going on. I don't love that. Not that I like am surprised by it. I just fear that if that's going to be a narrative tool that they repeat like over and over again or something along those lines. Like it was cute and funny for this season and I don't necessarily have a problem with it being next season. I just hope it doesn't become like a repeating thing where it's like, "Oh, Egg keep like I feel like next season could repeat a lot of the same plot lines that we hit with this season, with Egg getting in trouble for running away to Duncan. And then next season, he's going to get in trouble for running away to Duncan. And I hope that doesn't become like a repeating plot line, because that I think could get old very, very quickly. And it already is very clear that they're going to play on that some more. But I think overall, with the conclusions and talking about grief and, like you said, whose fault is it? Like, that was all very, very interesting. And I really enjoyed those conversations. Obviously, Duncan having a bunch of doubt. I have my own thoughts on what that flashback meant, and I'll get into that. But overall, it was a good episode. Like, I enjoyed it. Obviously, like, there is a lot to talk about, but there's also not a lot to talk about. And more than anything, it made me happy that they concluded well, but did make me a little fearful about certain things going into further seasons. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the back and
A
forth on
Game
it.
of Thrones show ending well. Wow, look at that! Look at us go in the year of our
To be
Lord
fair, it's only one
2026.
season, and the first season of Game of Thrones ended well, so I wouldn't be yapping yet. I
Yeah,
wouldn't be yapping quite yet saying that, but
yeah. Um. Okay, so let's talk about that ending quickly. From what I understand, and again, actors lie. Again, we've seen it for years, especially with like Marvel and whatnot. We've seen them lie before. The actor who plays Malcolm, I get his name wrong. Egg's father.
mhm.
Uh, the actor who plays him has already said he is not in season two. He has been in conversations that he will return in later seasons, but he isn't going to be in season two. Again, he could lie, but I don't think season two is going to be the driving force for the hunt for Egg from the Targaryen standpoint. I do believe that it's going to be just a standalone season with Duncan and Egg, and maybe at the end of the season we'll get like a cameo from his dad, and then that sets up season three. I don't think season two is going to be the focus of it, purely because we know that piece of information that he's not even going to be in this season or season two.
I'll
Um,
believe it when I see it. That's kind
I
of my feelings
I
on
I,
it. Like
I believe it when I
I
see it. If not, I don't hate it. I actually kind of like the choice. It's not going to be something they repeat. It's just going to be more of like a Egg made this choice to go off on his own. Clearly didn't tell Duncan, so that's going to be a butting heads point
Well,
from
yeah,
them.
because that's the other thing is like Duncan was mad at Egg originally for running away and not telling him. So Duncan's gonna be even more mad now when he finds out.
Right, you
So
did it again, and this time you're getting me even more in trouble. Like, and I think Duncan's gonna be like Duncan is gonna be okay and all of it. Like, they're not gonna like hang him for it. Like, if he doesn't know, he doesn't know. It's not like he took Egg and left. Egg's even gonna own up to it. Be like, yeah, no, I just left, and it'll be like what's probably gonna happen is if it happens season two, great. If not, it'll be season three. It's gonna be Egg basically saying like, hey, I'm sorry, I lied, all this, and it'll be his dad finally just being like, fine, go with him. It'll be okay. You seem to have learned a lot. Because I feel like what's going to happen is in between the time that uh, Duncan is, or Egg is finally found by his family, he'll already have learned a little bit to where it's like, okay, maybe you're right. Maybe he is your squire. Maybe you live like this and you just let it be. Um,
yeah.
which truthfully is not the worst idea. That's the way I see it, at least. So I don't hate this ending. I think there is a lot of prospects. It's not worrying for me, but I do see where it could go. I just like in a bad way. I just don't see them taking it that way because there's a lot of story they can tell that isn't about that. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Thoughts, comments, remarks.
I mean, I don't entirely disagree with you. Like, again, it really depends on what direction they decide to take it. Because like it wasn't bad. Like, I'm not like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they did that." It made sense. Like, I was like, "Oh, haha, that's funny." Like, I definitely, like, understand that that was the likely outcome and reason why he was able to get away with, like, leaving his dad. Like, he probably didn't get permission, but again, I think it's just gonna come down to if they play it out and what it leads to. I think that's really just what it comes down to. Now, the other thing to shift over for another big conversation. Penny Tree and the final show.
Oh, why are you casting doubt?
I well, because I don't think he is supposed to be a knight. You think he is. I definitely don't think he is. And here's why. I talked about last week when we were talking about our thoughts on the series as a whole that I don't want more flashbacks of Penny Tree. Like, I don't want this series to be like a bombardment of flashbacks with Penny Tree. this was probably our last flashback with Pennytree, if I had to guess. Reason why I think that's a pretty definitive statement is you literally see Pennytree leaving them. I don't think you'd give us the visual of Pennytree splitting off from Duncan if you were just going to have Pennytree be a part of the next season. So
Sure.
this is the definitive last flashback with Pennytree in my eyes, is him telling us about the Pennytree and Duncan asking him why he never knighted him. That's our answer. He wasn't
Sure.
knighted. Granted, there's the little bit of doubt, and I think the only thing that I would be okay with, the only thing, and literally if they do anything other than this, I will not like it. Unless there's some big thing that I can't see right now. This is the only option that I can see that I would even slightly accept, is this is our last flashback with Pennytree. He is split off. You wouldn't give us the visual of him splitting off if it wasn't the last time we see Pennytree. The answer is he did not get knighted. Only other option is obviously Duncan is going to knight Egg. Obviously.
Right.
If they had a cut over flashback of Duncan being knighted by Pennytree while he is knighting Egg, I think that would be the only time that I would be okay
yeah. No,
with getting an answer or anything like that. Other than that, I'm pretty sure this is the definitive. We're done with Pennytree. He has split off. His
right.
story concluded. We got the answer. Duncan is not a knight, which isn't shocking to like anyone.
Well, and to be fair, shouting, love it. Okay, we're shouting. I love shouting in my house. It's great. No, I think that there still is the chance that he's the knight. The flashback could mean anything. I would lean towards the fact that he isn't. It would make sense. But again, that reveal also, that wouldn't come in the form of a flashback at this point anymore. It would come just out of word of mouth of, oh, he's not a knight. It also depends on if Duncan would even reveal that, because the only person who would know is Duncan. That's
because
it.
Pennytree is dead. The only person who definitively knows, I mean, that was the whole thing at the either first or second episode, where it was like, was there any witnesses to your knighting? And it was like, there was a robin in the tree. And the guy was like, fuck you, that's not enough.
Right. Yeah. And so it's just like, yeah. So he could just get away with it. And maybe it's also one of those things where it's like he never was actually knighted, but he's going to be knighted. And he's just going to say that he is to reap the benefits of it, which would make a very interesting character layer for Duncan. But I feel like if it does come out, it'll come out, but it's not going to be in a flashback form like you're talking about.
I mean, again, I think it's literally two options. One, we're done with Pennytree. He split off from us. That's the end of Pennytree's story, which I'd be totally okay with. I mean, the actor's older anyway, so you're not going to be able to get him for 15 fucking seasons. That's like, yeah, it's not going to happen. So I think this is them splitting off, and I think we got the answer on why he didn't knight him, or we didn't, but we did. So I think I'm totally fine with that. And again, I definitely lean on the side, especially now that he is not a knight. But I think that adds an additional layer that is better than if he was knighted, in my opinion. He is, because again, it goes back to the whole thing where it adds so much more character depth to the scene where he's trying to recruit people over to his side from the Battle of the Seven, where you have a person who isn't a knight, who he was never knighted, telling actual royalty and knights that they are not worthy of being a knight. I think
Sure.
would lose a lot of meaning to me if
Sure.
it was a knight.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
my thoughts on it. But anything else you want to talk about with this season? Or either season as a whole or this episode?
This episode, I mean, again, there's nothing much that's like pressing. There wasn't any shocking revelations. Nothing. I mean, just like the last scene between Lionel and Duncan's pretty good. They're setting up clearly at some point Duncan's going to run into Lionel again. Maybe not season 2, but at another point they will. And I hope he does, because I like Lionel's character. They're setting him up running into, I forget what the character's name is, but Cider Guy, the guy who wants to make his own cider business, the guy who, kind of fought for him.
Yeah. That's now married to a whore, which
now
was
married,
like,
which, okay, great.
I love I love the eyes that Duncan and the girl are exchanging, where he's like, "I'm not gonna tell him. You should probably like."
Yeah, I ain't gonna tell him.
Also, I think we can both agree that's not
Very.
his child.
That's not his
That
child.
that's not his child.
That's not his child. It's really funny, but it's not his child.
No,
It's it.
no.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, comedy was pretty good. Oh, the fact that it's the Nine Kingdoms threw me off.
I was gonna ask you about that.
I
What
the
is
moment
that?
so it's all the different lands they have in Westeros.
No,
So
I understand that, but like when they announced that this show was going to be a night of the Seven Kingdoms, did you go, wait a second, there's nine
no,
kingdoms? Like, is that
no.
like a running like? So what was this a big reveal that there are two kingdoms that we didn't know? Like, what was the point of that whole
I
thing?
think it's just the joke that everybody calls it Seven Kingdoms. I think Game of Thrones they touch on it that there were more than seven kingdoms, but they all but they just called it the Seven Kingdoms. I think it's because when they first came, how is it explained? When they first came to Westeros, there were seven kingdoms, but then they kind of branched out years and became nine separate kingdoms. But they still called it the Seven Kingdoms because that's what it was kind of called when they got. I don't fully know what the lore is. That's kind of what I remember it being. Um,
Because that
it's
that was
it's just
something where I was like, I feel like this is supposed to be a big monumental or hilarious reveal.
yeah, it's
That
just a
I was
joke.
just like, that I was just like, huh?
No, it's just a joke. There's nothing remotely wrong with it. It's just a joke at the very end. But I completely forgot that there were nine kingdoms, and so completely being honest with you, when he started listing them off, and I started listing them off, I went, "Wait, that's actually nine. Wait a minute." I was,
Okay.
I was like, "Oh, wait a minute," because yeah, at one point I feel like one of the lands was a part of a different one. They broke off, became their own thing. I don't fully remember what it was.
Mhm.
But there is like a history to it. You just would have to look that up. But yeah, I don't know. Again, overall, good episode, good time. Nothing to complain really.
Yeah. No, I think Night of the Seven Kingdoms was a great show. I could easily see this, even with it only being February, being in my top 10 shows of the year easily, because I do think we have enough shows this year to do that list, which I'm excited for, because that just means we have a shit ton of good content coming out this year. And Night of the Seven Kingdoms was it it is exactly what I would want out of a medieval fantasy show that I did not get out of Game of Thrones. And so again, one day I am making the vow I will go back to Game of Thrones. When we do some of the things that we've been talking about off camera for content reasons, I will one of those things will be me watching, maybe reacting to, we don't know, Game of
Sure,
Thrones,
sure.
but for having not seen a lot of Game of Thrones and not having a huge connection with Game of Thrones, I really was shocked by how much I enjoyed this show. And I'm excited for future seasons. I just hope that it doesn't outstay its welcome. And I hope that if they're going to keep going for 15 seasons, they can justify those 15 seasons. That's
Sure,
all I ask. That's like,
sure.
it's not for me. I don't view that as like, oh, if they do that, it'll ruin the first season. But it will be one of those things of like you're sitting there kind of watching your baby die, and I don't want to do that ever, obviously. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Another thing that maybe outstayed its welcome, maybe didn't. We'll talk about that. Carson, I know you wanted to do this differently. We're gonna do it my way because it's my podcast. No, I'm kidding. Um,
fair
Oh,
enough. No, fair enough.
funny thing, we didn't even talk about this. This is a weird place to insert it. Happy 52 episodes, 1 year.
Oh my gosh. We never even talked about it. I completely forgot. I'm not gonna lie, and this kind of spoils my thoughts for what we're talking about. I was sulking angry for like a good portion of it. I even thought about it yesterday. I completely forgot that was today. Happy 1 year
Yeah.
anniversary.
Yeah, because if you remember, we started the idea for the podcast at MegaCon, which was Super Bowl
Yeah.
weekend of 2024. Well,
Yeah,
that's
and
when
then
we
we
came up with a
launched it.
name. We had been talking about it for a while before that, but like we had determined
But we finally
definitively that we were
launched it
doing it.
in yeah.
And then we launched it at the end of February, beginning of March. And so
Yeah.
happy 1 year anniversary, brother.
Happy 1 year. Let's talk about Scream.
Yeah, go ahead and kick us into. So, again, just to remind people, we're going to give our thoughts on the first 6 Scream movies as a whole, since the podcast didn't exist when the other Scream movies, just to kind of give you an idea of our connection with Scream.
Yeah.
Then we're going to go straight into our Scream 7 thoughts back, like individual reviews, and then our back and forth as just Scream. So that's just an idea of what this will look like. Carson, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been vocally honest about this. Scream is probably my favorite slasher franchise. Eh, Definitely my favorite slasher franchise. Debatable for my favorite horror franchise. Like, there's a lot out there I'd actually have to sit through and think. But as far as consistency, at least 1 through 6, even at their low, they're mid to okay, but you can still have fun with them. There's nothing absurdly wrong with the films beyond the fact that some of them can be very cheesy in 90s, which is fine because you acknowledge that they're cheesy in 90s. The first one is one of the greatest slasher films of all time, one of the best horror movies of all time, because it doesn't take itself too seriously. It plays into the tropes, but it also like goes against all the types that a typical film has. The second one is okay. The third one exists. The fourth one is okay. And I really adore 5 and 6. I never thought I'd say that. Like, going into those films in 2022 and 2023, I did not expect to like Scream 5, and I expected to hate Scream 6 because I didn't know what it was going to be. And I loved the story they set up. I liked the characters and the world building that they did with those films. I thought it was an interesting take, leap forward, especially for the sequel requel, or the requel, whatever they call it, in the fifth movie. I thought it was a very interesting take to go further into the Scream film, again playing against tropes, but now set in more of a modern idea, modern time. And again, I loved Melissa Barrera, I love Jenna Ortega, I loved their performances. Chad and Mindy were a very welcome addition, and then getting Gail, Sydney, and Dewey back in the fifth and sixth films. Well, spoilers, not Dewey in the sixth film, but getting those characters back was just a lot of fun. They nailed it right in the coffin, or they just nailed it exactly how they need to with the fifth and sixth films. Again, talking about the earlier films, again, Screams 2 and 3 are okay. They're not the greatest. I think Scream 1 is excellent. I think Scream 4 is a lot better than at least Scream 3, maybe Scream 2. But again, I can't stress enough, even though they're the lowest, they're still not anywhere near as bad as the lows of like maybe some of the old Child's Play franchise movies. Friday the 13th, Halloween. Again, as far as slasher films go, they're still pretty entertaining. They're not award-winning. They're not anything to write home about. You're going to remember the first Scream before you remember Scream 2, but it's certainly not bad. So I have a very emotional attachment to this franchise, just as a whole.
Yeah. So I've established before, and I'll establish again, I'm not a horror fan. I really don't enjoy watching most horror movies. I've been exploring horror thanks to this podcast and because of Carson. So I have never seen any Scream movie before this week. I went in actually pretty unspoiled. I knew very, very, very little in general about any of the Scream movies. So as the reveals are happening and as the twists are happening, I'm experiencing them for the first time. And man, I'm so happy I did, because I really enjoyed the Scream franchise way more than I ever could have expected. I think that all of them are actually very enjoyable. 1 through 6, I think, are all very enjoyable. One can never be topped. Like, I'm sorry, it can't. It is actually, I would call, an incredible horror movie. I thought it is my favorite horror movie of all time now. I haven't seen very many, but it's going to be hard to top. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, Billy Loomis," but I'm a Stu guy. Matthew Lillard's performance in that movie is like actually so good. And I
So
think
fun.
as a whole, Scream 1, really, really good. Scream 2, it doesn't reach the highs. I still think it's a really fun movie for what it is. Scream 3, I think gets a lot of unnecessary hate. Did I love the reveal of it? No, but it is the first single killer Scream movie, so it has its own twist in that. And I think that there are a lot of interesting elements that it explores with being a trilogy and things like that. I think 4 is the closest to coming to 1. I think 4 is so good. And there was a point in time after I finished 4 where I literally sat there and said, this might be better than the first movie. It has almost the best twist. I still will say, after having some time to marinate on it, 1, it can't be touched. The twist, still the best. 4, though, for me, I was losing my mind. Like, it was the twist that it was like her cousin that was the killer, like that to me was so mind breaking. And I was like, holy shit. And then everything that happens afterwards. 4 is such a good movie. Like 4 is really, really good. I think 5 and 6 are also really good. And I think that Jenna Ortega brings a lot to those movies. Obviously, Marissa Guerrero brings a lot to those movies. I think that they explore some interesting elements. Obviously, I can't love them that much because they did kill off Dewey, my favorite character. But looking outside of that, I do think that 5 and 6 are really good movies. I don't think there is a bad Scream movie of the original. I call them original 6. Obviously, it's not like the original 6. Like out of the original 3 and the 2 that follow, I don't think there's a bad one. I really don't. I think they're all very fun movies. They're very good movies. Like I can't complain. Like as someone who doesn't like horror, going into the Scream franchise for the first time unspoiled, I enjoyed my time. We're going to not get into our back and forth on the Scream franchise right now. We're going to go ahead and kick it back to Carson to give his Scream 7 review, and then we'll kick it back to me to give my Scream 7 review, and then we'll get into our back and forth. I know I've reiterated that. Just want to remind people, Carson, give us your Scream 7 review.
I told you I had a story for you. I walk into a movie theater on Thursday, excited to see a film, excited to see Scream 7. I was worried. Melissa Barrera got fired. Jenna Ortega stepped away from the project. They pivoted the entire story. I was a little worried. But how bad could it really be, right? It's fun. It's Scream. I sit down in the movie and I watch it. It's okay. Thought it was fine. I went home that night and proceeded to watch Scream 5 and Scream 6. And then I went back to the movies on Friday to watch Scream 7 once again.
I don't like Scream 7.
Let's get into this. It feels like a parody of Scream.
You're going to have to stop. I think you blew your microphone because you're coming through real quiet now.
Oh, yeah. I may have blown my microphone. Is this better?
No. Is there any way you can turn it up?
Is that better?
Yes.
I turned it up really high, so we're gonna see how this. I'm gonna turn it back down later. It's called.
I'll tell you if you need to fix it. But when you screamed, your microphone on the thing shit its pants.
I would too. I'm being completely honest. I don't think you understand the fury inside of me, considering I'm the biggest Scream fan there is. Is this film the worst thing I've ever seen? No. It's not fair to say that. Does that mean that I am not angry? I'm angry. This is about the same level for me that Joker Folie et Deux was, where it was the biggest disappointment to me. Because Scream 5 and 6 was really good, and they had the perfect setup. And then they had to go and fire their 2 leads of the movie. They essentially fired both of them because Jenna Ortega stepped away at the end. And they had a really good idea for a final note in this trilogy, which would have been a perfect final note. You could have ended the story. It would have been good. You would have been done. And now we're pivoting back to tell a story about Sidney Prescott. And mind you, what is probably the most underwhelming, boring of the Scream movies. There's some, I guess, good violent kills. I'll give the movie this. It's the most violent Scream movie by far. Sydney's daughter doesn't really have any development in the movie. Tatum doesn't really have any development. It's all kind of just thrown in like through like items in not nostalgia bait, because it's not being used as, maybe it is, maybe it's not. It's all kind of used through like items that she finds that was Sydney's in the past, like the jacket from the second movie. She finds that and it's like, oh, that's the development you're giving her. So I didn't really have a chance to connect with her. So I didn't really care for the story. And the fact that Chad and Mindy show up, who I loved,
I don't want them in this movie. They have no place in this movie. Just if you're gonna write out the other two, write out them as well, because they came in here just because they were in the last few ones. And the same thing goes with Gale. Gale shows up because Gale has to be in a Scream movie. You could have also written her out and it would have been okay. And I would have honestly liked that more because of what they did with Scream 6. Hey, Sydney wasn't in Scream 6. Why does Gale have to be in Scream 7? Why do Chad and Mindy have to be in Scream 7? I shouldn't be getting too mad at this. I know I shouldn't. It's a horror movie, but like, you had the perfect blueprint for a movie, and because you decided to fire your lead over what is the most stupid reason, you now have a movie that is wrapping up a story that has nothing to do with the story you were setting up in the first place. I guess the idea behind why the Ghostface killings are happening this time around makes sense. You sat up the 6th movie. I want to remind you that you're Sidney Prescott and you're the true final girl, so you can't sit out in a horror. I guess that makes sense, but I didn't like it. I don't like spoilers. If again, saying that again now because I'm revealing who it is. I don't like Jessica as the killer. Doesn't really make sense to me. I don't like Marco as the killer. Doesn't make sense to me. I'll let you talk because I've been rambling. All in all, it's just such a disappointment because I loved the last 2 films. I thought they were setting up something incredible. And I walked out of this movie just with my head hung low, hoping they were going to burn this franchise finally at the stake and just let it die, which I never wanted to say about the Scream franchise.
Fair enough. So, Scream 7 is a pretty good Scream movie, is what I thought to myself as I watched it and walked out of the theater. And I was like, that wasn't that bad. Like, for a Scream movie, it's pretty good. And then I sat on my sofa and I thought about the movie that I had watched. And I tried to think back to what happened and what I cared about. And I realized that I couldn't come up with much. And I still don't think it's a bad movie necessarily. Like, it is still a Scream movie. And so there is a lot of grace that I would give a Scream movie because, again, with movies like 3 and like that, I still enjoyed them for what they are. They still gave us what a Scream movie is within the formula. I think the reason why I just got lower and lower and lower on this movie as I thought more and more about it is because there was so much potential in what they were setting up with Sydney's daughter, with a ghost face that we don't have a connection to. I think that's actually an interesting thing. Having a ghost face that wasn't present throughout the entire movie, that we don't have a connection to, that could be a really big thing. That could be an interesting anecdote to play with, where every other killer has been someone that's been in the group throughout the entire course of the movie, only to reveal themselves as the killer. Both of these killers appear for maybe 3 minutes of screen time in the entire course of the movie, and then are revealed to be the killer. That could be very interesting. They just didn't make it interesting. And I think that's kind of the problem, is they had all of this good, interesting things with Sydney's daughter, with the killers, with all of this circumventing of expectations that could have been really interesting. And to me, at the time of watching, I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And then as I thought about it and I thought about the actual execution of it, I was like, wait, that wasn't actually as interesting as I thought it was. And I kind of walked away being like, it's a good Scream movie. I can't even, like, it's an okay Scream movie. Like, for a Scream movie, it's okay. But like, beyond that, I just kind of like, I guess I can say, yeah, I was disappointed. Like, I guess I feel disappointed, not because I think it's the worst thing since sliced bread, but because they wasted an interesting setup, even beyond the setup of this trilogy with Jenna Ortega and Marissa Guerrera, the setup of the concept of this movie. And then, like, also, Stu, I already talked about, I'm a Stu guy. Stu has not even been barely mentioned in it. Like, he's been mentioned, but he hasn't appeared in any Scream movies. Like, Billy Loomis has been the big thing. And obviously it makes sense. He was the guy. But Billy Loomis has been mentioned a million times. We've seen him in, like, flashbacks, and we've seen him in hallucinations or whatever. Stu has been, like, forgotten about in the Scream franchise. And so when they said that they were bringing back Stu, I was so excited going into Scream 7. And I'm not saying he's a waste. Like, Matthew Lillard does a good job with his
Yeah.
screen time, but the concept that they have surrounding his character, again, similarly, looking back on it, feels like wasted potential more than it feels like it was worth my time. And that's just kind of what I walked away with. Not walked away with, but what I thought about after watching Scream 7 is like, for what it was an okay movie. It was a Scream movie. I give it some grace, so I can say it was an enjoyable time while I watched it. But as I tried to actually think about it in terms of what am I going to say on this podcast, I was disappointed. I was, and I wish I wasn't for how much I enjoyed the other 6 Scream movies.
Well, let's talk about the one thing I think we can agree on, which is the fact that this is probably the most violent Scream movie, and the kills themselves, whereas they're not as creative. There's one creative kill, kind of. It's not even the kill itself; it's the finality of like looking at the portrait of the kill, I guess.
The one where they stab him on the beer spout. Yeah, that was actually, I was like, holy shit. And I think there is an interesting element to that where, knowing that that is the killer's son and he went out that way, I do
Yeah,
think that that makes that a really interesting and good kill. I think McKenna Grace's kill, that was the most violent kill. I think
McKenna Grace's was
the only one that comes close is the friend that died on the apartment or in the house across from them in Scream 4. That one,
yeah,
the aftermath of that kill and her guts on the bed and all of that, I
that
think
was
that's
pretty
the most
brutal.
violent aftermath, or
Yeah.
one of, until the McKenna Grace kill in this movie, which was like, holy shit, she just got split open and guts everywhere.
What's also funny is like McKenna Grace, love to see her in film. She's a really talented, she's one of the more talented actresses working today. Why is McKenna Grace in this movie?
Yeah, I agree. I thought the same thing, where I was like, I get it. Scream has a history of casting actresses. Like, that was the big thing with Scream 1. The
Yeah.
girl that appears at the beginning of Scream 1 was
Was
a
Drew
very
Barrymore.
yeah, Drew Barrymore,
Yeah.
very, very famous actor at the time, especially. And then you killed her off immediately. It kind of feels like they were doing something similar with McKenna Grace here. It just doesn't hold the same weight. Where you're like, oh, they cast McKenna Grace. McKenna Grace is like the it girl right now. She's like in a bunch of movies. She's really good. I love McKenna Grace. I think she's a really good actor when she's given good scripts.
Right.
And then they killed her off, and I was like, oh shit, you cast McKenna Grace and killed her off. Like, that's really interesting. That at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't have that big of a problem with like, oh, like, why is McKenna Grace in this movie? Like, I could agree, but at the same time, like, it feels like they're trying to recreate the first thing from Scream 1. It had some level of success, but it
Well,
was
I
really
mean,
just a really gory kill.
oh, but it also all the movies start out with all the movies start. Yes, they're trying to recreate Scream 1 because obviously it's supposed to be if Tatum's taking the mantle of what Sydney had, now Tatum's best friend has to get killed. Great, understand. Um, that's taking over the mantle of the final girl, I guess, in the eyes of the killer. But that starts off the movies. And honestly, this is also kind of what like draws me into this movie as like this is not Scream. It's the opening sequence. It was fun. I like the idea of being in like an Airbnb Stumacher house. You know, you're in the house that the killer was in, whatever, and then they actually get killed. That being said, Scream opens usually with a phone call, and it doesn't like in the fifth movie, for example, it was Jenna Ortega picking up the phone. Similar like the first movie, does all the things. Ghostface gets in. She doesn't die, but she gets stabbed a bunch. The sixth movie does the same thing, except it's, hey, you're in this restaurant. I'm luring you out to this alley, and then I'm going to do it here. Okay. It's the same thing. Scream 7 doesn't even start out that way. It's a completely different type of opening, which kind of lets you in onto what movie you're watching. This is a very different type of Scream movie than what you've ever gotten. And I just didn't, even from that opening sequence, I just wasn't excited about it. Another character who's in this movie.
Well, quickly, just to
Sorry,
talk about
go
that.
ahead. Go ahead.
I disagree. I loved the opening of this movie. I thought it was one of the stronger opening sequences of the Scream franchise. Because as you mentioned, like, Scream is known for a few things. The opening,
Yeah.
that's a big thing for Scream, and the killer reveal. Those are like the two big things that Scream is known for, beyond just being a meta commentary slasher movie. Like, they're known for their openings and they're known for their killer reveals. for me, this is on the higher end of openings just because it circumvented what the other Scream movies have done. And it was the
Okay.
most different of, well,
I'll give you that.
I would say technically it's not the most different. The most different is 6. 6 is the most different because that opens up with a different
It's
Ghostface
completely
killer
different.
that
Yeah.
then gets killed. I think that is the most different. I think this, for being different and trying to circumvent expectations, was still really strong for me and gave me some hope that, okay, they're starting to play with some different elements. Maybe this is going to be a different type of Scream movie and there's going to be something interesting to play with there.
Sure.
Unfortunately, they didn't super live up to that, but I still really enjoyed the set piece element. The kills were pretty strong. I thought it was very suspenseful. Like, it was a very, very,
I'll give you that.
it built up some really good suspense for me.
It just didn't do anything for me, I think. And I think it's just because I'm so used to the typical Scream opening. And fine, you can change it up. I want franchising to change it up. I want them to try something different. If it didn't work for me, it just doesn't work for me, which I guess.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and be like, you're wrong, but I'm just saying personally, I disagree. I thought it was.
It was just different. It was just weird for me. But another character that's in this film and is a little better than McKenna Grace, but also at the same time, why even this movie? Joel McHale. You have to have the father figure in there, and I get it. You could have had anybody else other than Joel McHale, though.
So I'm going to expand on your thoughts here, just because going beyond just him, I think this is my biggest criticism of the movie. And I'll just get it out the way because it does semi-relate to what you're saying.
Yeah.
This movie is right down the middle in terms of runtime. It's an hour and 54 minutes. The shortest Scream is an hour 51. The longest Scream, I think, is 2 hours and 6 minutes or 7 minutes, something like that.
Somewhere around that.
It's pretty right down the middle at an hour 54. This movie feels like it's 30 minutes long. I don't know how to describe it to you, but this movie feels like it's 30 minutes long. And I think the reason why is because you have elements like the dad that feel so underbaked and so underutilized. And it feels like I understand why you included it here. It added some sort of element, but also doesn't feel as expanded on as it could have been as compared to the other Scream movies, which again, some are shorter, some are longer, but it still feels like it fully bakes out its cast of characters to a degree, its storyline, and you get to sit with things for being nearly 2 hours. This movie, in the way that it's paced, for some reason felt so short to me because you have all these elements like the dad that just, you kind of think back and you're like, he was on screen for like 5 minutes. And I get that, like, yeah, you could say that for a bunch of characters throughout the history of Scream. But it feels like his 5 minutes, for being as important of a character as it feels like he should be, being the husband to Sidney Prescott and the father to Tatum, it feels like he was just not a thing.
Right. Well, let's not just touch on that. Let's just get all of this out of the way. Let's touch on Gale for a second, because Gale's also.
Oh yeah, Gale is the biggest proponent of this problem.
Well, and here's the thing. Scream 5 actually handled this very, very well. Dewey, as far as returning characters, was predominantly the Han Solo of the movie. Yes,
he was very present in that.
Like
movie,
he was very present. Going probably like Sydney and Gale are in it, so I guess you could call them supporting leads, but I would very much call Dewey a supporting lead. I actually would call Dewey a lead in that film, not even a supporting lead. He was a lead. I would go as far as to say that they handled that film right, in the sense of they gave a reasons for why the characters aren't around. Okay, Gale is divorced from Dewey after all these years. She went off to New York and is doing whatever she's doing. Sydney is off with her family in the town that obviously Scream 7 is eventually set in. And we're off doing the separate storylines. But them coming back makes sense. Gale comes back because she's doing her job in reporting the Ghostface attacks. Great. Excellent. Sydney comes back because her friend is actively dead. Like, is just dead. She just heard about this big death that never thought would happen, so she comes back to end it. It makes sense reasoning for them to come back. Scream 6, and again, focusing on Gale here, Scream 6, there is a reason why Gail's there. She lives in New York with her boyfriend, husband.
Boyfriend, I think, fiance, I don't know.
Doesn't really matter. It's not Dewey.
Ends up dead. So
It ends up dead. Doesn't really matter. Ends up, she's already in New York, so it makes sense for her to be there, especially if she's just reporting the story. And then the tension that they actually add there with Gail, the idea that she's wrote the story of Sam and what's Jenna Ortega's character again? What's her name?
Remember.
I can't remember it either. But Scream 7, she just kind of shows up. And furthermore, again, going down the rabbit hole again, shows up with Chad and Mindy, who I love those characters. In this movie, I'm going to be honest, I kind of found them a little annoying at times. And
See,
I really don't know why they're here. I really don't.
I disagree with them being annoying, and I understand why they're here. I actually like that they're here better than if they weren't, because if they weren't in this movie, I feel like it would discount a lot of their arc in 6, where it's all about the core four, the people who have gone through this trauma before. We have to help each other out. So them showing up, I think, makes total sense. I have no problem with them showing up. I just think they're underutilized, I think, is my big thing. And I get it, because this isn't their situation like 5 and 6 were. I totally understand that. But at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like, if you're going to include them, make it feel worthwhile. And I think they do need to be included, because, again, that's like the whole thing with all these characters returning is the core 4 or the Woodsboro murder gang or whatever you want to call them. They all need to come together. That's like a core element of Scream. So if they didn't come together, I think it would make less sense.
Well, clearly they all don't need to come together, because not all of them are together. But please continue.
Well, I will say, Jenna Ortega and Marissa Guerrero's character, obviously we know they were written out. That's fine. I think not mentioning them is totally fine, because I think their presence in Scream is different than, I'm blanking on their names, but the two siblings' presence in Scream. Chad and Mindy, they have a different look on the whole situation than Jen Ortega and Mercer Guerrero's characters do. So them not going out of their way to help other people going through the same thing, to me, I'm totally fine with. I don't think we need an explanation. I think it makes total sense. So I think Chad and Mindy have a different outlook on it, and they have that in them to be like, I want to go help other people that are going through the Ghostface killings. So I personally don't have a problem with that.
Well, and here's the thing. They show up, and it's fine. The thing that I think is probably going to happen here, and this is just because they didn't mention Sam, and they didn't mention Jenna Ortega. I can't remember her character's name. Hold on. I got to look this up, because this is actually going to drive me crazy. It's Sam and Tara. Tara, that's the name. Tara. Yeah. My goodness. I never would have remembered that. They wrote them out. They didn't mention them. I have a strong feeling, and it's more up to Melissa Barrera and if she would even want to return to the franchise after being fired or whatnot. I wonder if they're trying to leave the door open to maybe potentially come back towards a positive future and maybe return with Melissa Barrera to write that last movie.
I could see that.
Because I do see a world, even though this is supposed to be the final chapter in this quote-unquote trilogy, I see a world where they open up the door to make an 8th Scream movie, which is the actual end for their stories in particular. Because obviously this story was not meant to happen. It's also why Chad and Mindy are not as involved in this story as they should have been. I guarantee you that they were meant to be leads in this story. I don't know what the story would have been. The rumor, this is just a rumor, just so you know, the rumor had it to be that it was going to be about Tara and Sam's mom, and then it was going to factor into Billy Loomis, and that was going to be like the final film and something to do with their mother, because obviously their mother has been mentioned this entire time, but never actually seen. And obviously with her connection to Billy Loomis, it would make an interesting thing. I think they're opening up a door to get back to that. And so that's why also, like, they don't really talk, they don't talk about Sam and Tara. They try to leave it open-ended so that they can potentially come back to that wraparound or whatever. And Chad and Mindy, I guess, I don't know. Again, I'm just disappointed because I like those two characters, and they're, like you said, they're underutilized. So they just feel like they're here.
the reason for them being here is fine. It makes more sense than Gale, but like they're just here.
I think so. Going into a positive for this movie, and we can go back and forth because I still want to talk about some of the other Scream movies as well.
Sure.
But going back and forth, another element that I think talking about this and the other Scream movies, one of the things that I think this movie actually does really well that even 5 and especially 6 don't do is have stakes. One of my biggest like nitpicks on 5 and mostly 6 is no one really dies. At least not that we care about. Like it feels kind of non-consequential in a way in terms of like I get it. Yes, the whole thing is we get more kills every movie and they become more gory. I didn't really feel that with 5 and 6 all that much. A lot of people got stabbed. Chad and Mindy got stabbed in both movies and in this movie, but not a ton of people really die. The other Scream movies, you're losing Dewey, you're losing why am I blanking on his name? He's one of my favorite characters. I had his name pulled up and I need to go back to it. Randy. Yeah, you have Randy. He dies. That was the first big legacy character death. Granted, it was only in 2.
I would say it's not really a legacy character, but yes, I get what you mean.
But yeah, you're having people you care about die throughout most of those movies. This movie, I think, has like the most deaths. I think the problem with it is you don't really care about any of the characters.
Yeah.
You don't have any time to connect with them. They all die right after you have the big like come together scene, which felt a little weird, but I'll give them credit for actually killing people because that was one of my big things like 5 and 6 like, oh no, like terror, like all these characters are dead. And then at the end of the movie, they're just like getting carted off in an ambulance and they live. And you're like, well, that felt useless. In this movie, the guy that got his head skewered on a beer stout is dead, definitively. The one girl got her neck slashed, like she's dead. Like all of those, like the boyfriend, he's dead. Like all those characters are dead. And that actually, I really appreciated that about the movie.
And here's the thing. The 5th one, I actually do think has stakes. There were a lot of deaths. Again, it wasn't necessarily anybody we cared about, but like, except Dewey. Dewey was the only one in the 5th one that died that you actually really cared about. But there were stakes in the 5th movie. The 6th one, I do think there were stakes, but it wasn't the fact that there were deaths. It's just the fact that it's a different location, so you know that it's a little bit harder. 7, I just don't feel like had any.
Here again, the stakes are difficult because you don't care as much about the characters as you do of the main cast of any of the other movies. I will totally give you that. I'm just saying from the standpoint of I felt like 6 really didn't kill anyone that I cared about because the second anyone that got injured, they just ended up in an ambulance and they were fine. I mean, hell, like what was the FBI agent? She was in the other movies.
Oh, Kirby.
She gets fucking shot and then just appears like nothing happened. Gale gets shot, appears like not like all of these things. Like I'm not saying
Chad
I
Mindy.
wanted them to.
3 times now have come back.
Chad got held up by 2 of the Ghostface and stabbed like a motherfucker. He should have died there.
And he's still alive.
And that was one of my biggest problems. Like, I still enjoyed those movies, but that was one of my biggest problems, especially with Scream 6, is like literally no one fucking dies that we care about.
Well, I think
coming into this movie, I'm not saying I cared about all the characters, but at least they fucking killed them and they're dead.
Yeah, but I guess furthering to that, and I guess it's probably on the same as Scream when you factor into the fake deaths. Unless you count the fake deaths, they don't because they end up revealing that they're alive. The actual death count is pretty low in this movie. Like, even though they didn't kill everybody, but the death count is still pretty low. Like, yeah, they killed people and they stayed dead, but death count's pretty low in all fairness.
It's what, 4? Not including the 2 ghost faces.
Not including 4. Oh, if you don't include the ghost faces, it's actually worse on all counts for all the movies.
Yeah, but we're not in terms of. So you have McKenna Grace. She died. She was the first one to die.
Yep.
You have the 2 people at the start of the movie. So that's 3. You have the boyfriend. You have the nerdy friend. You have the other friend that dies with the glass in the neck.
Okay, actually, I take it back. This one might actually have more. This one
So
definitely has more
there's
than Scream 6.
so there's 6 kills, I think, unless I'm
Scream.
forgetting someone. No,
I'm trying to
again,
think.
not including the ghost face.
Scream 6 has Samara Weaving in the very beginning in the restaurant. Flash Thompson, because I can't remember his name, but it's Flash Thompson from Spider-Man Homecoming and that franchise. You have the girlfriend of Mindy who falls off the
Yes.
ladder.
God, that was such a stupid death. I get it. She should have gone first down the ladder. She really should have. Like, why the hell are you sending the injured person last?
Not including the ghost faces. Oh, Gail's boyfriend. Dude.
Yeah. I think that's it.
I think that's it in Scream 6 because everything. But I think Scream 6 is more so about. Oh, I guess if you count the people in the grocery store that he just completely guts up. But that's
that is true. That is true. That is true. That's actually a really good sequence. That's a really good.
That's just a massacre sequence. But no, that's where the stakes in Scream 6 came for me. Was the fact that Ghostface isn't even like hiding anymore. Like, get out of my way! I'm killing these people. Like, that's
he is in broad daylight. Well, granted, it's at nighttime, but still, like, surrounded by people walking into a convenience store and blowing people's heads off.
Right. Scream 5, you probably have the same amount of 7. 7 actually has more than I think I thought I remember being. I think they were just all kind of mid for me. So
again, you remember them less because you didn't have time to care about the characters like you did about Tara in the first movie or any of the other characters, really.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. But yeah, I don't know how we got on. I think we were just talking about like the kills. I don't know what we were specifically talking about that got us on that topic. Because I know we were talking about like the lackluster use of the characters, but like okay, the writing itself,
it's fine.
They give reasons for why things are happening. Doesn't mean it's great. That here is kind of a positive. I don't like it because I don't like it. It's kind of phoning in. It's like, oh look, Dewey's back. We got Dewey to come back in the movie. The AI thing is a unique idea, and I don't hate that. But then it kind of diminishes the Stu Macher thing.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't. I think for me, it just kind of goes back to like, I think it's one of the better fleshed out elements of the story just because you have multiple phone calls with fake Stu. Then you do show people trying to dissect it and investigate into it. So like, I do really like that element. Could they have done more with it? Yes. I think that could be said about like everything in this movie, that they could have just done more with it. But I think it did really work well with the AI element. It added an interesting like stakes. And that's actually why I do think that like the reveal of the ghost face isn't as horrible, because the whole time you're thinking, oh, we know who the ghost face is. Like, Stu's back. Oh, it's this. Obviously, he's not. But for it to be revealed to be nobodies that are just using Stu, I think does really work. I just think that there could have been more there to make me care a little more.
I agree, and I think that
because I just want to say, I guessed the mom. I did. I guessed it. I don't know if you guessed any of the ghost faces. Like, I guessed it.
It's the most obvious. Here's the it's both a good thing and a bad thing. I guessed the mom because it was obvious. I didn't guess Marco because I never thought in a million years that it would have been as stupid as Marco.
Turns I knew he was involved. Like, it was very obvious that he was involved. You just didn't think he was an actual ghost face.
I didn't think it was going to be as stupid as, oh, he's just actually a ghost. Nope. It's as stupid as that. Again, the final reveal itself is the worst in the entire franchise, which is saying something, because there was a reveal in which it wasn't two Ghostface, it was only one, which really threw off everybody who was in that. That's one of the only ones that threw off everybody, was the fact that there was one Ghostface. And
I think that was a really good reveal. I think that reveal doesn't get enough credit because of how surprising it was. Now, I will say, talking about that though, I really like the theory because I did see this theory after I watched Scream 3
Yeah.
that the police officer in that movie was supposed to be a ghost face, like he was another ghost face and he was set up to be another ghost face, but he fell for Sydney and then ended up not actually doing it.
Right.
Which I actually kind of like that theory. I think that's kind of funny because I really did think it was the police
It,
officer and they were setting it up to be the police officer, and then he wasn't, and then they could have played with that later. But the police officer, I can't remember his name, but the actor from Scream 3 that played the police officer was supposed to be in Scream 4. Scheduling conflicts is what prevented him from being in it.
Yeah,
So
I remember hearing about that.
yeah.
That I don't know. Some of the like in just this is kind of bouncing off of Scream 7 a little bit, but like even some of the performances and like let's talk about the performances of like just some of the various different cast members that we've had in this franchise. One that I don't think gets enough credit at all is Jack Quaid. Jack Quaid is
Oh, dude,
phenomenal.
I was literally talking with you on the phone after watching Scream 5, and I was like, dude, if you want to make anything good at Jack Quaid, do it. I fucking love Jack Quaid. Jack Quaid is like on and off camera, so good. I love Jack Quaid.
He does
He
great, and his
so
presence
good in that movie.
and his presence, even though he's not in the movie, is very much felt obviously in 6 because it's based around him basically.
Yeah.
But his presence even like after is just really felt, and it works really well. Randy is still one of my favorite characters through and through in this franchise, even though
I
he
love
only makes it through
Randy.
movie 2. It's really sad. I wish that
Dude,
they would have done more of them.
when he died, like that was
You were
one of the
actually
first
sad.
times like in the Scream movie because he was the old like one of the only characters that carried over where I was like, God, they did him so dirty. He
Right.
got dragged into a bus and stabbed. Oh,
Um,
come on, Randy.
I actually like Timothy Oliphant in this franchise. I think he does a great job. I don't know what the actress's name is, but it's uh Andy's mom in Toy Story, Jesse, not Jesse.
Which
What's her
movie are we talking?
Scream 2? It's the mom. No, not maybe not the mom. What's the girl with short hair? It's the other killer. It's not Timothy Oliphant. It's the other killer.
Oh, the you're talking about Miss Loomis.
Mrs. Loomis. That's who it was.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it's Billy Loomis's mom.
I think she does a good job.
I will
think that
say, in
they
terms
both
of
do a good job.
reveals, this might be a controversial take. Not my favorite.
No,
I
the
don't know
reveal
why.
itself wasn't great, but the actual performance of it is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Is
the
pretty
performance
good.
is good. I do think she gets a little outshined by the other Ghostface killer with
Timothy Oliphant. Yeah.
Timothy Oliphant. I do think she gets a little by Mikey, but at the same time, yeah, like I don't think there's really any bad performances in most of the Scream movies. Like I really like all the performances
Oh,
for what the movie is supposed to be. Like I think all the performances fit really well for the movie that they're in.
well, and
Maybe
look,
like a performance from Scream 4 isn't going to work as good in Scream 1, but that's just because they're different types of movies.
you can't call it good acting. People. Every Scream person understands this. You don't care because it's really funny and it's really good. Let's be honest. There's some times in the original Scream movie where Matthew Lillard really goes over the top. It's really fun and funny, so you don't care. But it's obviously not good acting. Like whenever he hits
No,
him
it
with the
is.
phone,
I strongly disagree with you.
like when he hits him with the phone, you hit me with the phone. I'm like, okay, all right.
No, I'm gonna have to stop you there. Never disrespect Matthew Lillard like that ever. Don't say it's not good acting. Never disrespect my boy Matthew Lillard like that.
I
Because
will not disrespect him.
here's the thing. You say it's not good acting. You have to take into consideration that this guy is a psychopath. Billy
Yeah.
Loomis did it because he had a reason. He had a motive.
Sure.
Stu did it for the fun of the game.
Yeah.
He says peer
love the
pressure, like
game.
that's the joke, but you don't peer pressure someone into murdering like 10 people. Like, no, he was a psychopath who did it for the fun of the game. And also, when he gets the phone thrown at him, he's dying. He's been stabbed and he's dying.
It's so
Of
good.
course, like Matthew Lillard, I think gives these like I can't discount Billy Loomis. Like I understand I want to put Stu above,
Skeet
but
Ulrich does a great job.
yeah, I think he is the best. Like Steve Aldrich has the best performance. Matthew Lillard has the second best performance easily of the entire Scream franchise.
That's so good. I'm
It
sorry,
it it,
he
it
is really good.
God, like and here's the thing again. He is one of the better parts of this movie of
Yeah,
Scream 7. Like he continues to carry on that like the
he
look in his
does.
eyes and how psychotic Stu as a character is
He does.
was so good.
And look, of all the roles he's played, and granted, I do like him as Shaggy. I think he's very iconic. I do think Stu is probably one of my, if not, it's my favorite role that he's done. I think
That I can think of, it is my favorite Matthew Lillard.
he's going to be in Born Again. He plays a role in season 2 of Born Again, so he'll be in that. I don't know what role he's playing, but he's supposed to be in that. But like, no, I love Miss Stu Macher. These days, you gotta have sequels, man. I mean, it's so funny.
Dude, God, I want to rewatch Scream now, and I literally just watched it. Like Matthew Lillard's portion, though.
No, but that's the thing with that movie, like especially the original Scream. You just constantly want to rewatch that because it's so rewatchable. It's really good. This is more just asking a question. I know we're kind of looming away from Scream 7 here, and we're talking about the other ones, so I don't have much to ask. But I am curious. Did you guess the twist with Scream? Did you know that going into it that it was Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ultrich's character?
So I knew that Scream was known for something. I knew that there was something to do with the killer that Scream was like known for in terms of like circumventing expectations. And that ended up being the two killer thing. I did suspect Stu. I did. I wouldn't say I was like, oh, I got you. I definitely think it's you. I did suspect Stu, but when I also more like my thing was I 100% expected it to be
Billy.
Skeet Ulrich. I like Billy. I absolutely expected it to be him. Then they kill him, or you think he gets killed, and I was like, okay, it must be Stu then. Like that must be the circumvent of expectations that everyone was talking about.
Right.
So then when it's revealed that it's both of them, I was like, oh, it's the fact that there's two killers that's the circumventing of expectations.
Did that factor at all into Scream 5 later on? Did you guess that it was going to be Jack Quaid? It's Jack Quaid in a Scream movie. I'm sorry. How do you not expect him to be the killer? Like the only other person I called the killers in Scream 5 purely based on past filmography. Jack Quaid has never done anything super crazy, but he's in a TV show. I don't know if you know, it's called The Boys, in which is bat crazy insane. So I fully expected him to be one of the killers. And then I knew Mikey Madison was going to be the other killer just because I saw her Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She plays a Charlie Mansonite and literally tries to go into this house trying to murder Sharon Tate.
Yeah, I expected it to be Amber. And I kind of
knew it.
So my thing with that movie is, though, I think it has one of the reasons why I like all the Scream movies is because while some of them have some lows, like they're not all peak amazing like consistently, but I think all of them do certain things so good that like it's hard to say, oh, it's the best in the franchise. It has a really, really good reveal though. When Amber pulls out the gun and shoots someone, I suspected it to be Amber, but the fact that it was revealed by her pulling it, like all the other Scream killers stab people. That's the whole thing.
Welcome to Act 3.
By pulling out a gun and blowing someone's brains out on the wall, I was like, oh shit.
Like,
I knew it was you, but like you just shot someone in a Scream movie.
I'm about to say it's going like that's the way you're like, oh, this is about to be like really bad. The moment that again, Jack Quaid living it up. Richie, get the gun. I sat there when I watched that in theaters. I sat next to my friend. I'm like, no, Richie, don't get the gun. Don't let Richie get the gun. Don't let him get the gun. And then Sam gets the gun. I go, okay, so what happens now? He pulls the knife. I go, okay, well, that's it. Like, yep, there it is. I was waiting for that.
Yeah.
Look, overall, I don't know how to wrap this up because we're talking about all of them here. So I don't know really how to wrap this up. I'll wrap it up by saying this. There's a lot I love about this franchise. It's the most rewatchable franchise, and it's probably why it's my favorite horror franchise, because it's so much fun. Like, I wouldn't even say there's not even really any scary bits. It's just slasher fun.
I disagree with you, and I was going to talk about that actually. I know
Okay,
you're
go
trying to
ahead.
wrap it up, but
No, no,
I
no,
was
no.
gonna
Go
say-
ahead. I'm trying to think of other things to talk about. So go ahead.
So let's talk about what you just brought up. There are not like Scream is a slasher movie more than like and I was talking with a friend about this on like, so one of the reasons that I don't like horror movies is because I don't like I don't like being connected to characters that I know are going to die. It feels like I don't want to say a waste of time. I love being at the edge of my seat and being like, I love thriller movies. I love being suspended in like what's going to happen next. And that's a big thing with horror movies. I don't love getting connected to characters that I know are going to die. And that's like the whole thing with horror movies. It's one of the reasons I don't like horror movies. But I do like being scared sometimes. And I think with the Scream franchise, one of the things that is interesting is you're right. There aren't a ton of moments where I'm like, oh shit, I'm super scared. But there are some. I think one of them, and maybe it's just because I live and I take the metro every day, Scream 5, when they're taking it's Scream 5. No, Scream 6. Scream 6, when they're taking the metro and the Ghostface killer is staring at them and the lights flicker and gets closer and then you don't see them and then they get closer. It scared the shit out of me. That was actually, that for me, one of the scariest sequences. Are there any other sequences for you? Because I'm going to start thinking of some in terms of like actually scary sequences, more than just like oh, we know they're going to die. Like there's regular Scream slasher moments. Like
I guess there's,
actually,
like-
like you were scared.
There's some genuine jump scare moments, especially in the later movies where they get you like you can kind of predict that there's gonna be a jump scare just based on the layout of the scene. But like I think one for sure in Scream 5, when I don't know what the actor's name is, but when the kid's like taking a shower, his mom runs out to get dinner or whatnot. The whole time you're looming over the fact of like, oh, there's like, he's in the house, he's somewhere, and he just jumps out at the mom. Like that caught me off guard. Was not expecting that. The first movie with Tara just comes from nowhere. I mean, in the modern one, here's what I'll say: there is elements of terror. It's more so in the modern versions of Scream, not so much the classic Screams, because maybe it's just because I grew up with them and so I kind of just know them. Maybe I was terrified as a kid. I really don't know. But definitely more so in the modern ones. There's a lot more jump scares that can get you. Scream 6 actually is a lot where I got scared, and then Scream 7.
Yeah.
Scream 7 exists.
Moving on from scary moments, my favorite moment in the entire Scream franchise is a moment from Scream 4.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm about to say?
I probably do. Go ahead. I don't want to get it wrong.
I want you to guess. I want to see if you know it. It is my favorite moment in the entire Scream franchise. It's from Scream 4, and it made me laugh so hard. I'll give you that.
So it's one of two things.
Give it to me. I want to see.
I'm going to go with the one I think it is, because people laugh at this a lot. It's when they're watching Stab, and the Stab movie is actually like the parody of it. I'm guessing that's not what it is, though, because
Nope.
I giggle every time. Okay, what are you talking about then? Because I actually would have no idea then.
So let me set the scene. We're scared. We're at the house party at 4. People are starting to die. Yes, there's a house party in 4.
I haven't seen 4 in forever, so I'm trying to remember what's happening.
I'm trying to remember our character's name, so I'm going to Google it really quickly. Apologies.
Is it Kirby?
Just because
Is Kirby in the scene?
No, it's not a scene with Kirby. Where is he?
Again, I haven't
this
seen 4
him?
in forever, so
God, everyone's older now, so it's hard to like look up images of them. Okay, I'll just set the stage. We have our two characters. You have our main killer, and then you have his best friend. His best friend is getting attacked by the killer. He opens the door. The killer's coming after him. He's terrified. He's shitting his pants. He's already been stabbed a bunch of times. He's laying on the ground in the garden. And he goes, wait. You can't do this. This is against the rules. I'm gay. And then the Ghostface looks at him and keeps stabbing him. I lost my mind, dude. That was so unreasonably funny. Because obviously the setup with that is when they're at the film club and they're talking earlier about like, oh, this is modern. The easiest way to get out of getting killed in a Scream movie is by being, or in a slash movie is by being gay. It's the easiest way to get it. They don't want to kill a gay character. So when he's getting stabbed and he's laying on the ground, he's going, no, you can't do this. This is against the rules. I'm gay. I was like, oh, and then it wasn't just the fact that he said it. It's the fact that the Ghostface looks at him, tilts his head, and then just keeps stabbing
and just repeatedly stabs him. Right.
I was like, that is the funniest thing I've ever seen in a horror movie.
I gotta rewatch Scream 4.
Dude, like I said, Scream 4 is the second best Scream movie. Like, there are elements that I think are almost better than the first. Like, the reveal of the killer in Scream 4 is so good. It is so good. It is the only Scream movie where I had zero inkling of the second killer. Obviously, the first killer was pretty obvious. That's why they revealed him first. You're like, oh,
Sure.
wow. We knew it was going to be Charlie. Like that was kind of obvious. But when they do the like actual reveal that it's her cousin, that it's Jill the entire time, like that blew me away. I was like, holy shit, dude.
I mean, there's
Scream
so
4
many
is
moments.
so good. You need to rewatch Scream 4. It's so
I
good.
need to rewatch 4. I think I give that movie so much hate.
It doesn't deserve any of it. It's that one moment
Maybe it's
is
just been
so
years.
funny.
Maybe it's just
the
because I
reveal of
haven't seen it in years.
Jill, like God, it's so good.
I mean, look, we already touched on my favorite moments. Anything with Matthew Lillard is really good. It's really fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything with Randy is really good.
Dude, I love so much that in Scream 3, as we're wrapping up the trilogy, you think you're not going to see Randy again. Randy has unfortunately died. The moment where they turn on the TV and it's a recording of Randy trying to help them out, knowing that he's probably dead.
Right.
That's such a good moment. That's such a good scene. That's why I can't hate on that movie. I can't hate on 3 like other people.
No, I don't hate on 3. I don't hate on 3. I just don't think it's nearly as good as the others. But I don't hate it by any means. I don't think it's that bad. I actually wouldn't even call it bad, to be fair. God, this is kind of sad, and this is a sad favorite moment, but maybe it's because I was out of my seat, like shocked. It is Scream 5 whenever Dewey does bite the dust and when he dies, because that was so like I was not expecting them to pull the trigger on that. Like I was never expecting them to kill off the Legacy character.
They almost killed off, like Dewey gets stabbed in almost every movie. Gale gets shot or stabbed, and like it's bad. And so, funny enough, I was thinking about this. If you really think about it, like if you actually think about it, I think Sydney's probably walked away with the least amount of damage out of the main cast of the Scream movies.
Probably, yeah.
Like, Gale's been shot. She's been stabbed. Dewey had literal nerve damage. Like, it's bad.
Objectively, yes. Yeah,
Sydney goes through a lot of mental trauma, for sure. In terms of physical damage, though, like, I think her worst physical... I know her worst physical damage comes from 4 when Jill is the one that's attacking her, and you actually think she's dead and she ends up in the hospital. Other than that, Sydney will get roughed around for sure. But her friends are getting shot, stabbed, and almost beheaded. Like,
right. Some of them getting crushed by literal garage doors.
Yeah, that was something.
That was fun. Yeah. No, but like, again, Scream as a franchise is just so rewatchable. It's consistently good, and I love it. Scream 7, wrapping up that part of it, I want to pretend like it doesn't exist because in my mind, it seems like an offshoot of the story they were telling. Maybe we'll get an 8th movie where we wrap up the actual story that I want to see wrapped up. Maybe we won't because the studio is probably too self-righteous to take Melissa Barrera back, or Melissa Barrera might not want to return, which is completely valid.
Yeah.
And we might never see the end of that story, which is really unfortunate because they are clearly either way setting up a Scream 8. It's just a matter of what are they going to do? What story are they going to tell?
I have a question for you then.
Yeah.
Do you think they will ever... Do you think Scream will ever end as a franchise?
Maybe, but I think it's one of those franchises that as long as it's consistently good, this is the first time they've ever really, really faltered. If it's consistently good, nobody's really going to care if it goes on for forever because it's a concept that cannot constantly live on as long as you keep revitalizing and breathing new life into the franchise, bringing in new characters that you can care about. Again, Chad and Mindy are characters that are newer, but we care about. Sam and Tara were also characters that we really care about. You bring those characters back into the fold. It doesn't matter if Sydney's not here. It doesn't matter if Gail's not here. It doesn't matter if you kill off Dewey. Even though we love those characters, you're giving us new things to be excited for the next 10 years, 20 years plus.
So I think that's one of the reasons why they included Chad and Mindy in this movie, despite Jenna Ortega, Tara and Sam not being in it, is because if they're going to continue the Scream franchise, Gail's eventually not going to be in these movies anymore. Like, Courtney Cox cannot act in these movies forever. Sam eventually is not going to be in these movies anymore. They're going to have to find characters that we can consider legacy characters that we care about, that are present enough in the franchise for us to keep coming back to. That's what they're doing. It is.
You can get that with Chad and Mindy. Again, Tara can come back whenever she wants. The only reason she wasn't in Scream 7 was because of scheduling things, which is completely valid. There probably is more behind it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Jenna Ortega left because of...
No, she did. Jenna Ortega left because of the firing.
That would make the most sense. But she could come back whenever. Again, Melissa Barrera needs a lot of studio apologizing and for her to want to come back to make it actually happen.
Well, because the only other new legacy character that wasn't in this movie at all was Kirby. Kirby is the other legacy character from 4 that is present in 6, and that was like a big reveal, was like that she came back for 6. With her not being in 7, I don't have a huge problem with it necessarily.
There was no reason for her to be here. Objectively, there was no reason for her to be here. So I think it makes sense as to why she wasn't here.
I think the only reason that you could get into it is she's an FBI agent and she pulls the same excuse that she did with getting connected to the Ghostface killings. I'd be curious to see what they do with her in the future, if anything. I just think, I think there were already a lot of characters in this movie. If they added her in, you're gonna, that's the problem with introducing new legacy characters while also having the old legacy characters in these movies, is you'll get to too many characters, and that's where you have moments like where Gail shows up for 5 minutes, and the only thing we get that doesn't feel that meaningful because it's supposed to be paying off something from Scream 1 with the whole thing that Gail finally gets the interview that's supposed to be like a big moment that you care about, that's like a big deal.
But
it kind of doesn't, it doesn't feel as meaningful as it should. Yeah. And I can't point to why, but I just know that it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, again, just overall, Scream 7 is just an underwhelming movie and disappointing to say the least. By far my least favorite in the franchise. I don't even think that's close. You maybe could make the argument for Scream 3, but I don't think that's.
No, I don't think it's a horrible movie.
It's just not great.
Out of the Scream movies, it disappointed me the most. Is where I'll leave it. Scream 7 disappointed me the most, mainly because there was a lot that they could have done that you can very clearly see that they could have done, and they just didn't do it, and that's unfortunate. And I don't know.
Sad.
That's
better luck next time.
Yeah. Do you know what we're talking about next week?
It should be, if I remember, it's not Project Hail Mary. It's
No, that's the week after. However, I spoiled for myself. People are fucking loving that movie. People are saying it's a modern classic. People are saying it's one of the best movies they've ever seen. Like, people are loving Project Hail Mary because they did early screeners last week.
Right. Next week is, let me look at what. Oh, Bride. It's The Bride and Hoppers, I'm assuming.
Yep, Hoppers and The Bride. That'll be next week. I'm excited for both of those movies.
Hoppers. I'm coming around on Hoppers. It actually kind of looks okay. Bride, I'm obviously excited for. I think that's going to be at least okay. It's not going to be bad. It at least will be okay. I hope it's great though.
I know this is going to be controversial. I'm more worried for The Bride than I am Hoppers. I think Hoppers. I don't think it's going to be like the best Disney picks. Like, I don't think it's going to like blow me away. Like, I'm not going in with that expectation. From what I've seen from the trailers, I think it's going to be a very fun time. I think it's going to give us a pretty good movie.
Sure.
I don't know what it is about The Bride. Maybe I'm just looking into it too much, having not seen the movie. I don't know.
Could be.
There's a chance that it's not going to be as good as I hope it is, but we'll see, and we'll talk about it next week. That is our...
Could be.
Yeah, that is next week. Excited nonetheless. Anything you want to say to leave us off?
No.
You really thought about that one as well.
I was like, is there anything I need to say? No, there's nothing. Thanks for asking.
Fair enough. I have a game night tonight with friends. Not tonight, at 3. This is how nerdy I am. The game that we're playing is Axis and Allies, 1942 2nd edition. Axis and Allies is a World War II Risk on steroids game.
Of course it is. That sounds
very, very nerdy. It's very like history buff, very fun. But if you ever wanted to know what type of nerd I am, that's how nerdy I am. Is I have anime posters behind me, and I'm about to go play a World War II war historical game. So yeah,
very much you. It's very much you.
But that's not what we're talking about, because we're done talking about Scream. Maybe forever. Maybe we'll get an 8th movie. Who knows?
Who knows?
I'd be curious to see. Admittedly, I would definitely go see a Scream 8. I'm blown away by how much I enjoyed the Scream movies.
Yeah.
For the most part, disappointed by 7. Maybe I don't think I'll come around for it. Literally.
But happy 1 year.
Yeah, happy 1 year.
Happy 1 year.
Happy 1 year. It doesn't feel like 1 year. It's really weird.
No, feels like it's been like 2 months.
I mean, the biggest change for this podcast will be eventually when we're recording this in person together, which...
It will be. It'll be smoother, too. It'll be nicer.
Every day that counts down, we get closer to...
Thank God. Please.
Every day. Dude, I need to send you some of the houses that I'm looking at, by the way. I have some houses liked that I'm looking at getting.
Sure.
I think you'll like some of them. But that's off-camera stuff. We're rambling now.
Here's my 401k number, by the way.
Yeah, here's my bank account information. Here's my social security number. Yeah. But anyways, this has been another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, the only podcast on the internet where your 2 favorite Nimrods talk all things nerdy. You can find us on all podcast hosting platforms at Nerdy Nimrod, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, literally anywhere you can watch or listen to podcasts, you will find us there. You can find us on all social media platforms at Nerdy Nimrods, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. I have not been posting on it the past few weeks. I will get back to it within the coming weeks. I have plans to return within the not so distant future. I've just needed a break from it. I have plans to revitalize it. We'll get to that later, but you can find us there. Still watch the backlog, whatever. Again, next week, Hoppers and the Bride. Very much looking forward to it, but this has been this week. That'll be next week. This has been another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast. So, to sign us off, as always, stay nerdy.